Hello again, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Game Pass Grab Bag, your weekly podcast reviewing games from the Game Pass collection, bringing you three unique perspectives of varying skill range. I am the survivor of this episode, Andrew. With me, the one who can't even craft a glass of water, Keith.
Hello.
And the one who takes the survivor out of the survivor games, Liz.
Hey guys.
And this week we played the much requested Subnautica Below Zero. So thank you so much to our listeners, Peter, Mythical Maker, and the Funky Cat, who personally requested this game, and thank you to all who participated on our Twitter poll and voted for it. Subnautica Below Zero is the sequel to Subnautica. Who would have thought? But Subnautica is brought to you by Unknown Worlds, and Subnautica is a first-person open-world survivor game. You play Robin, a sister of a scientist who's on the planet of 4546b, who has just mysteriously died, so you take it upon yourself to go to the planet and figure out what actually happened to her. But going around, for me, this was a game. If you've played the first Subnautica, you will definitely like Subnautica Below Zero. But if you also played the first Subnautica and you found it too overwhelming, you may enjoy Below Zero. I found both of these games to be same, but very different. So it didn't really quite feel like a sequel, but it did feel like a Subnautica game. So if you didn't like the first one, you actually might enjoy Subnautica Below Zero. It had a little more direction. But yeah, overall, I think it's a game.
So I'll take the next step here. I actually don't even remember what I said for the last one. I think it was a pass. I'm pretty sure it was a pass.
Liz knows.
It was okay. A pass. It was one of those, like, it's a personal pass, but
okay. And so,
and it's understandable because you had a unique experience with the first Subnautica.
Yeah, if you're not familiar with that, just like going back and playing the first game, go back and listen to the first game. Find out how terrible I was at Subnautica. So, Subnautica Below Zero, I was not exactly excited when it came down to it. I'll be honest, but Andrew actually already kind of said it, and I'm a good example of. I can see where he's coming from, that it's not overly different. There's a lot of the same feelings to it, but on the flip side, there's a lot of quality of life improvements that, while this isn't it's a game, I will say. I wasn't super excited about it, but I actually didn't dread playing it. And I actually would say it's come to a game for me on Below Zero.
it's a game for me. I don't know if it's more accessible or just because I remembered a lot from the first one, but for me, this definitely felt like it felt like a first game, and the other one felt like a sequel. This just felt so much smaller and easier to understand and all those things. And like Andrew said, there's things that I really like about it, and then there's things that, with the last one that I kind of wish I had. Actually, Andrew, did you say that? Or was that before we recorded that you said that?
It was before I recorded.
Oh, okay.
Because I actually don't remember my intro already.
But yeah, so I did like it, but it didn't feel like a sequel at all to me.
Yeah, I agree.
Or a second game.
I think this game was originally supposed to be an expansion, but I think it ended up getting too big that they decided to make it its own standalone game.
That kind of makes sense because, yeah, overall it's pretty samey gameplay, but I mean the story is obviously different, so like that's different. But I definitely agree. It didn't feel super sequel-y, a lot more expansion-y.
Yeah, I felt like this game, the story seemed more interesting to me. I had trouble getting involved in the story with the first game. And for me, it's hard because I don't want to do like spoilers and stuff. But when you meet the alien and stuff, this game is very linear. And also, I was kind of waiting for a twist or something that didn't happen. And I was waiting for more information on the sister. So there were some things that I liked. Like, I liked finding out about the alien and, helping him and everything. But for me, I just felt like the reason why I went there, I didn't really get the answers. Or maybe I missed it with the sister. I just felt like they were just kind of like...
Yeah, I didn't... So apparently you learn about your sister's, like, demise pretty early on, and I'm like, I didn't get that. But I found this story, I apologize if we do end up stumbling into like some spoilers, but overall though, I did not care for the story for Subnautica Below Zero. It wasn't as interesting as I thought the first one was, because the first one was cool because it was very much like, hey, you're just a survivor, you're just trying to get off this planet, that's your goal. But then you start uncovering pieces about this planet, which was surprising because it's a giant planet just full of water. And you're like, oh, there's can't be anything that interesting with this planet. But there actually is. And so with this one, it's a much smaller personal story. It just didn't have anything that cool or interesting that really hooked me.
Well, I feel bad because I didn't really go back and listen to the PDAs, and I'm wondering if that's where I went wrong. Like, that's why I didn't, get more of the story. And so for me, but I also felt like they had these characters that you weren't really, diving into. Like, there was the crazy woman with the stalker pet. And same with the alien. He kind of says oh, I don't want to get into it until the very end, and then he tells you why he's doing what he's doing.
And it wasn't that interesting. It was very much oh yeah, I kind of.
And then you don't find out in the end because it right.
Find out what? No, you do.
Is there a part 3?
Planet?
Oh, about his planet? No.
Yeah, you don't find out if it's a good or bad ending for him. And I also, during the story, the alien enters your mind and he needs your help to build a body for him. And I just thought it was really interesting where it's she just fully trusted this alien in her head. Yeah. I'd be a little nervous.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
it's is he a good guy? Could he just take over my body? But it was just that's why I was waiting for a twist or something. But it just turns out that he was just this is a good guy alien.
I mean, to a certain degree, she's a little bit hesitant when he first takes her. She's like, wait, no, I gave you the thing. You wanted a thing. And he's like, yeah, you, not that, which that's a little creepy, isn't it?
A little bit.
She's like, here, I'll help you out. He's like, all right, well, your body's mine now. And she's like, I don't like that. He's like, I don't care. So anyways, that's a whole thing. But so,
man, am I right?
Aliens. Jeez. Always got to probe everything.
Always got to be entering
Which is
you.
weird
Come
they're
on.
talking about this because wasn't it just in the news again about the UFO sightings and stuff?
I mean, yeah, the U.S. government released.
Well, yeah, obviously.
They're having a meeting about it.
Oh, they are?
Yeah,
I don't know about that.
it was on the actual news. It's been 50 years since it.
Well, better be careful because they're going to enter you.
Oh my gosh!
I hope you never say that again. So, I'm kind of waiting for the right time to say this. I think I'm going to do it. I think I'll explain this on Storyline. So, as you may recall, Andrew, we were playing the other night, and I was fairly early on in the game, whatever, and I was all braggadocious that I had discovered Delta Station Dock. As you may recall, I was very proud of myself.
Did you call it braggadocious?
Braggadocious. So I was pretty proud of myself. I found a thing, and
even though it literally gave you a beacon to that place.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
but I did. I got there.
Good
well,
job.
I carried on, and I kind of just got to a point where I had just about everything built that I could build. I couldn't find anything else. I had 2 achievements, which I think is still what I have. Spoiler.
No, 3.
You have 3.
Oh, 3. Thank you. Thank you. So I think I have 3. And I started looking through the achievements, and I realized, wait a minute. I went to Delta Station Dock. I never went to Delta Station.
You never climbed the... Oh, my God, Keith.
So I played probably a good 5-6 hours and never went to Delta Station. I never found the map.
God, Keith. So you literally went on this little pier and you went, this is Delta Station. Literally a tiny pier with a bench. And you're like, ooh, this Delta Station's impressive.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I will say, in all fairness to Keith, I felt like whenever I uncovered something like an artifact or a key thing that was going on that was, pushing me forward, I didn't know when it ended. Sometimes you just scanned something and that was it. And other times there was more to it. So for me, when it comes to seeing a bench, it's maybe that's all I need. I just never knew if I should look more or...
Liz, I really appreciate that vote of confidence in me. No, I don't know. I don't know what I was doing.
What was your logic? So you get on land, you see a vast open place, and you go, I'm good, and you jump right back in the water?
Kind of, yes. And I think this is... Maybe I'm jumping a little bit ahead too much to gameplay, but it's kind of one of the areas I struggle with games like Subnautica or Below Zero. And it's funny because I love Tunic because there was no real direction. You kind of did what you could do. And then when I play a builder style game like this and I get lost, and I find myself, no disrespect, Liz, but kind of almost like Lizzing it a little bit, and like I just want to collect everything and like build everything, and like I kind of don't pay attention, so I'm not listening to the story. So I was like, he probably told me to like do some things, and I just ignored that and went, cool, I found a couple things. I'm going to carry on because I'm trying to build a rubber glove or whatever the heck I was trying to build that was not important in any capacity. So yeah, that was my thing. And so I think I actually did worse because I built the sea truck. I had a module. I had discovered a couple different alien artifacts. I had tons of stuff.
Did you ever build a base?
No, but I had the builder tool.
Yeah, because I mean, you scan a majority of the structures at Delta Station, so I guess it makes sense.
Yeah, so I didn't get those until after I scanned all that. But yeah, all that to say, it was like I had this little like epiphany, and I was like, I bet I needed to do more there. And
Oh my!
Wait, how did you not have a base? Like, did you just have like the floating lockers?
No, I just really carried around the bare minimum of what I needed.
Oh
at
my
any given time.
gosh. How do you, like, for me, like, I needed, like, what, 5 of the giant lockers?
I never
Like,
said
the
I was
biggest
good
ones
at
that you
this
can
game.
make. And I love that the one thing I love about this game, and other games need to take note. When you put stuff in the lockers, it just auto-organizes it for you.
Yeah.
That really, like, makes me happy.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, you were so excited.
I
You,
was
like,
very
the
got
excited.
everything
lockers?
organized. No. Just like if you put titanium, it
yes.
combines the titanium by each other.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And also, I wasted so much time with this game. I just looked at it. I put like over a day into
Yeah,
it.
you put a lot
And-
of time.
But I was
Nicely done.
collecting everything. I was like, ooh, poster, I need to bring that.
Shaving
And so
kit? Yes.
I always had a full inventory, and I decorated my base. And I absolutely loved it. One thing I wanted to kind of touch on is with this game, the atmosphere I think is very different. So for me with the first one, not only did the game feel bigger, like more open space, there were places that were dangerous to go or that you need special equipment, like the radiation suit and things like that. So there were a lot more dangers. And then I felt like they got rid of all of the scary aspects, which with the first game, I thought it was incredible that they actually made you feel like uneasy. Like when I was like swimming around and the Leviathan came, it was terrifying. That was like the most terrifying thing in a video game. But this,
Yeah, the first time you encountered a Leviathan in the first one, I think you like quit. I think
Yeah,
you like turned your Xbox off. You screamed.
yeah, this game, it's not like that. Whenever I encountered the Leviathan, they were more of a nuisance. They would follow you around, damage your ship. I would find like a little hole, go out and repair it. But even the look of them, like they weren't scary or worrisome. It was just a nuisance. I just like, I need to make sure I have an extra battery for my repair tool because when I was going to certain areas. And it's the same with the ice worm. It moved in like a certain pattern that like, it was just annoying. And so for me, that's actually something from the first game that I felt like they should have carried over, because if this was you, I mean, it would be terrifying.
Yeah.
And they just didn't carry that over, I think. It's same with like the music in the first one, I think was, not to get into music, but like when you're in the scary moments, like the music added to that. And so, yeah, I was a little bummed about that. I was really expecting to be creeped out, and I wasn't.
Wait, now were the Leviathans in this one the ones that were like kind of sharks? And they'd grab you and like try to eat you, right? Isn't that?
There's a couple.
There's a couple different kinds.
They're
Okay.
considered Leviathan class. I don't know
Just 'cause
the
they're
names
big?
of them. Yeah, but there was
okay.
like 3 kind of. There was one that kind of looked like.
It was glowy, like a light blue glow. That was towards the end. Of
Yeah,
the
there's
game.
one in the very
The glow
like the
whales.
depths. They look like centipedes. They look like centipedes with just kind of like a mouth on their stomach. You had a squid shark looking one that would actually shock you and like it was an EMP blast that would drain your battery from your vehicle for a couple seconds. Then you had these are awful descriptions and I apologize. I can't remember the names. I probably should have looked at the names from them, but yeah, they weren't nearly well designed or as terrifying.
And I also like too that I would go to an area and get attacked like 3 times, and then after being attacked 3 times by the Leviathan, it'd say, "There's a Leviathan class creature nearby," and I'm just like, "Oh, thanks, that's really helpful." But yeah, I also I saw a YouTube video. There is a certain section of the map that, well, no, there there were two. There were two sections I always got lost in. One was on land, and I had a map, but it wasn't a good map, and I'd always get lost and run around in circles. That's why it took me over a day to beat the game, because I was lost all the time. But there was this one YouTuber that showed the best way to go around the Leviathans when you're going super far down, and this is like end of game stuff, where like you hug the left for a certain point and then you hug the right, and that was actually really helpful. So like, if you're at towards the end of the game and you're going deep down into like the purple crystal area, I would definitely YouTube it. That helped tremendously. Do you know what? And I got lost going up so much, I couldn't figure my way back up. It took me so long. I was like, this isn't the way. And it's like it. And then I also want to say, you need to save in this game.
You saved all the time.
I did, because number one, I found the game to be a little buggy. It froze a couple times. I had to quit out. I also had a lot of frame rate issues. Like things would just pop up out of nowhere. Andrew saw it on my screen.
Yeah, but I didn't have any
approved
issues
this time. But not only is the game a little buggy, and I saw that online too. People like lost hours of gameplay, which is so infuriating. But also there were times where I forgot to bring something with me, and I was just like, I do not want to go all the way back. And there was one time that I forget why, but I had to go back and forth 2 times, and it was super far away, and I was just kicking myself because I didn't save. And you better believe I was like a save-aholic after that.
Hold on. Liz, please enlighten our listeners about your early experiences with this game and your favorite creatures, the sea monkeys.
Oh, my goodness. Guys, no, I was about to quit. I was seriously like 5 minutes into the game, and I was Googling how to get rid of the sea monkeys. Because when you first open the game, nobody else had them as bad as I did that I've seen online. Okay, Andrew's like, oh, I've only run into them once. No, these guys, every time I took something out, a knife, a scanner, they would take it from me, and I would hit them, and then I couldn't find it. What I had dropped because it was dark out or one thing or another. It was over and over and over again. It was like the 6th or 7th time, and I was about to just lose it. And then later on, like all of a sudden, they just left me alone. And then later on, I was very careful with my belongings because
you carried 3 scanners on you.
Yeah, at the beginning, I carried one of them. I found 2 of them I made, and I was so over it. But then, so I didn't hear the music for a while, and I was like, oh, maybe they're gone. I didn't have any more issues with them for a long time, and then they started giving me things. But when they started giving me things, I didn't realize it at first, and I was running them over with my sea truck. I was like, you're not stealing from me today.
Maybe that's why they started giving you things.
Yeah, maybe.
Just please,
but I was like,
killing our people.
I was like, is there something wrong with this game that it won't let me do anything without somebody grabbing something?
Can I just stop you for a moment, Liz? So we just recorded Sea of Thieves, and you berated Andrew and I because we laughed about shooting a monkey who was unharmed, mind you, because he was just...
Excuse me.
No, hold on. It's my turn.
But you're lying because you guys, that monkey did not steal from you. That monkey did not affect the progress of your game. Okay? You're implying that I am doing something malicious. No, I am protecting what is rightfully mine. You're just a sociopath killing animals. There's a difference.
I killed no animals. The monkey did not die.
Monkeys.
He teleports back to the boat.
You tried.
And it was
hilarious. The first time you did it, did you know he was going to live?
I did. Because I knew
believe that.
Well, Andrew told me for one, and 2, I just, it's a thing you buy. It's not, they're not going to be like,
did
hey, pay $10
steal from you?
Shoot the monkey one time and then
it dies.
Pay us $10 again. That's just not how that's going to work. So I assumed it wasn't going to die. I'm just saying, you're giggling about running over sea monkeys, and you were very angry.
I know. There is a very big difference between trying to kill your pet, whom helps you and adores you, and there's a difference between sea creatures that are stealing from you and stopping the progress in your game, and I wasn't accidentally, and hitting them with your sea truck. Like, there's a very big difference. And also, one is a fish, and one is a monkey.
That seems like a pretty intelligent
monkeys,
fish that could swim
fish.
up to steal your stuff. Yeah,
they like shiny things. There are a lot of stupid people who like shiny things. Like, I don't see this.
Okay. Well, I do think it's funny because I remember when you tried to attack the sea monkeys. I'm like, no, Liz, he's trying to give you something. And then you took it like, hey, sorry, I ran over your friends. Like, you apologized to him.
I did feel bad, but I also.
I think it's funny though. The first time you told me they stole something from you, you quit and just started a new game.
Because
he stole your skater, which is the easiest thing to make.
No, this was like no, it wasn't even fifth. It was like the 6th or 7th time this had happened, and I was over it. And it's the beginning of the game. You're collecting the resources, and I was just like, this is such an awful way to start the game. So I don't know why the game chose to do it like that, where they just bombard you in the beginning and then they're nice to you. Like, I don't know. But I also, what I said earlier with YouTube, I was looking it up. With this game, I feel like I had to look stuff up. I needed like certain petals or certain things to craft something. And so I would... Petals? I don't know where that came from. Actually, there was like a flower type thing.
Yeah.
So I actually did have to look up quite a few things and ask Andrew a lot of questions.
I know it's going to be kind of a difficult question to answer, but did you guys find Below Zero easier or harder to understand what you were doing? Because I know it's kind of hard to explain because, we played the first one, so you have the basics, but did you guys think this game gave you more direction?
I don't feel like I had more direction. However, maybe it was just because I'd already played the other one or played the original. I didn't feel, or I felt like I had an easier time with it. I just thought that, like I mentioned earlier, there was just small quality of life improvements that just, I don't know. And I can't even really think off the top of my head, but it just felt easier. And I don't know if you guys knew this. I found this, so I guess like hot tip, pro tip. That's our setting.
I don't know if anyone should get a pro tip from you, Keith. I don't know if I'd call yourself a pro, actually, too.
Someone who doesn't know what they're doing in this game tip is I was digging around in the options, and there's a controller, or there's a button that's not mapped normally when you're playing on controller called auto move. And left trigger doubles as interact, so you can actually just put it on left trigger, and you push that, and your character just automatically moves for you. All you have to do is like direct them or your truck. So if you're going like 1,200 meters across the sea and you're just trying to get from point A to point B, auto move that sucker, and all you have to do is steer it. Also, Liz, you mentioned that the sea monkeys were stealing your items and you couldn't quite find them when they would drop them on the ground. There's an accessibility setting that will highlight interactable items. So it makes it a whole lot easier. And I am going to shamelessly tell you that I turned that on and it was a huge help. Just being able to be like, okay, I know at least there's something over there. And so Keith tips for you.
Thank you for waiting till after I finished the game.
I discovered this last night at like 2:30 in the morning. Did you want me to give you a quick phone call, Liz?
Why not?
Hey.
So I will say, I found this game to give you better waypoints, because in the first one, it gave you waypoints to where like possible survivors were, which would kind of give you direction of like, hey, there's some areas over here you should probably explore. You can maybe find some new recipes in this area too. But it was very vague. This one kind of gave you more accurate beacons, but it still just kind of irritates me. Like, I know this game's meant to be open world survival. You got to figure out what you got to do. There's no shame in at least giving me a little more hint, especially audio. Because I do agree with you, Liz. When you go to an area and scan like one thing and you're like, is this it? Like, am I missing something? It would be nice if they just said, oh, you got everything in this area. That's it. Like, nothing crazy. And it made sense in this one because you had a voice in your head that, like, it would have been perfectly fine. But, so I felt like it had better waypoints, but I want to bring up, so this game, even though it is Subnautica, focuses a lot more on dry land. You obviously now have to deal with the cold when you're on land, exploring a lot of shore and naval bases and stuff like that. I was not crazy about the land aspect. I don't know how you guys felt.
Once you get the snow fox, it's a lot better.
Which is the snowmobile.
Yeah, and that keeps you warm, so you don't have to worry about getting warmth, because there are constant storms like all day, like every couple minutes, like, oh, get to shelter. So that was really annoying. I just think that they need a better map. I would get so lost in there and could not find my way out.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was me or not. And then it was frustrating too because, like we're saying earlier, with like not saying if you got everything, there were times where I'd miss like an important PDA, and I would just be running around trying to find it or trying to get something that would give me the next clue. And so yeah, I really struggled with that level. Even with using the map, I had trouble figuring it out.
Yeah, one of the things I liked about Below Zero versus the original was just having a lot more of it take place on land, and maybe more of it took place on land in the first game too, and I just never got to that. But
There was like 2 major islands in the first one.
But I liked that element, and I don't remember the other one having the snowy winter element, which I think is what made Below Zero.
Yeah.
And I liked that aspect too. I liked the whole temperature thing, and largely though I didn't think it affected me too much. Maybe I didn't spend enough time on land, but I didn't feel like I was ever like, oh man, I'm gonna freeze to death. There was always something to keep me warm.
So you never explored Delta Station, but did you at least explore like the other island or like the main land?
I was trying to get to Phi Robotics, but I couldn't find it.
Okay. Oh yeah. So then you were exploring the main area then.
But
So,
I never did get to Phi Robotics. I was trying to.
And I fully agree with you, Liz. There's no excuse why this game couldn't just give you a map. In the first one, it makes sense that there is no map. In this one, there should be a map. It doesn't make any sense because now, like, this plane is a bit established. You know, the company Altera's here. You actually find a paper map and you can kind of reference it. But it's just like,
It's not very helpful.
Yeah, I don't get why they wouldn't do that.
The compass is also helpful, but I think it's kind of silly that this game doesn't give coordinates. I feel like that would be a major help with accessibility, where especially like there's so many things that are difficult to find, and people are going to look it up anyways. So for me, it's just like, you know, finding, like, just having, even if it's just like you can turn it on, like, or I don't know. I just feel like it would have been better.
It would have been cool if there's like a difficulty option of like true survivor, you know, no map, no like compass unless you build it, kind of thing like that. But it's just because there is difficulty settings, like Liz turned off her survivability one, so she didn't have to worry about food and water. Yeah, so like they already have some difficulty options. It would just, I think it would just make it easier if they had one where it's just like a medium where like you still have the survivability elements, but you get a map this time around.
Yeah, I'm so glad that I didn't do the thirst and hunger option.
I like it. I think it adds some interesting elements to it.
It does, but I felt like I was struggling a bit with other things, and that it would have taken me like so much longer to beat the game.
I don't know. I think largely, like in Grounded, I struggled with it a lot more. I felt like in Subnautica, again, at least Below Zero, because I just definitely embraced this game a little bit more, or quite a bit more, is you could always kind of find fish, and there was so many more items around. Or maybe I just missed them in the first one too. Again, I was very unobservant, but I felt like I was just like always coming across bottles of water, and I mean personally just kind of having a better feel and rhythm to how I played the game helped. And I guess I don't know, fish were always plentiful enough, and once you had the fabricator module for your sea truck, it was always easy to just keep cooking fish or creating bottles of water. That being hydrated or well fed wasn't too difficult. If anything, it was just really more of an extra chore you had to do. It wasn't that bad.
You bring up the sea truck, and I want to ask you guys, what did you think of the vehicles in this one?
There were less, right?
Yeah.
Because I felt like they did it because it was a much smaller game. They didn't have like the big vehicle. And I feel like that is really all that you needed in this game. I did the prawn suit, like I built it, but I didn't end up using it.
Yeah,
so
you never used it.
For me, it's just like it was good. I definitely don't think it needed the bigger ship, but yeah.
It made me sad because I loved the Cyclops, and it made me so sad to see that it wasn't in this game. The sea truck is kind of a mixture between the sea moth and the Cyclops from the first one. They just decided to kind of blend it in one vehicle. And it's nice, but I didn't care for it as much. It was okay. You're kind of discovering these modules, as Keith said. And if you don't find the modules, though, then you're kind of, you know, you're just driving around a basic truck, which Liz did 90% of your game. You didn't realize you could build the modules you're discovering.
Well, that's the frustrating part, where it's like when I was playing this game, there was a certain module component that I couldn't find to scan. Again, that's why it would have been great if there were coordinates or something that you could actually like locate some of them. Because I felt like with the sea truck, there were like a billion out there. But with some of the other ones, it was actually really, really tricky to find. It was luck if I stumbled upon them.
Yeah, but one thing this game does add, though, that we have yet to mention was incredibly helpful, in my opinion. They give you a handheld tool called a mineral finder, which actually will locate minerals near you that you want. So if you were like, oh, I want to find titanium, it highlights titanium. Well, that doesn't highlight them, but at least gives you a counter saying how close you are to them. But eventually you can also build the scan room, which the scan room was in the first one. But I found in this one it to be a bit more helpful.
I didn't use the scanner room. I built it, never used it. But the handheld scanner was amazing. I use that so much.
Yeah, I was definitely a big fan of the handheld scanner. And again, kind of once I started playing with that highlight feature, it made it a lot easier to kind of find where I was going. But yeah, I upgraded this time. I got beyond just the Sea Glide. I guess I have said I got the sea truck, but I didn't get anything beyond the sea truck. So
that's it. There's the prawn suit, and that's the only thing. In the snow fox, but the snow fox, it's just okay. It's really not something that is needed, but
the battery doesn't last long.
Well, and it's kind of like those things right there is like we mentioned earlier, that Below Zero in a lot of ways does just feel like an expansion. You mentioned that the sea truck is kind of just a combination of the sea moth and the cyclops, and that's what you would do in an expansion. Like, hey, well, here's an opportunity. We don't really want to go bigger. We don't want to go smaller. We'll go in the middle. And they create the sea truck and the snow fox because, okay, we're going to push you to go on land a little bit more. Here's how we're going to do it. And it didn't feel, that's where it didn't feel like a true sequel. But I still liked it better than the first game, and I enjoyed my time playing it. So there's that.
And this is one thing I really praise Subnautica Below Zero about, because like usually when it comes to a sequel, it's very much like the general motto for like a sequel is bigger and better than the last game. It's like you're always just kind of pushing the bar. But as I kind of said in my intro, Subnautica Below Zero and Subnautica, they seem like they're clearly very similar games, but they're very kind of different style. To me, it totally makes sense for someone who's like, I love Below Zero, but I don't like Subnautica. Or vice versa. I love Subnautica, but Below Zero wasn't my jam. They're very similar, but just different. And I like that they did that.
How so? Because I don't necessarily disagree, but I'm curious a little bit more your thought on that.
Because like in this one, it's definitely smaller. Like when you look at the map of the first Subnautica, it's very wide and it's very deep. Like the maximum depth in Subnautica, I think, is like 250 kilometers or 2,500 meters. Okay. In Subnautica Below Zero, it's only 1 kilometer. Like it's not nearly as deep. It wasn't as scary. Some people might have found the first one much more scary, which it was. Like I said, this one had more direction. Its story was a lot more straightforward. You really kind of had to discover the story in the first Subnautica. So to me, it felt like the first Subnautica was more geared for like a hardcore gamer. If you really want to put the time in exploration, it's more rewarding. But in this one, it felt like it was more kind of a bite size.
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And the reason, like you said, when I asked the question, I didn't even disagree, was I found that I really enjoyed Below Zero, whereas Subnautica I kind of struggled with. I don't know if I will. This isn't a commitment to it by any means, but I almost do want to go back and play the original Subnautica and like see if maybe now it just clicks a little better and I feel better about it. But I don't know if I want to give up my scanner tool. Not the scanner, but the
mineral finder.
Yeah, the mineral finder. Man, I love that thing. It really is such a small but huge feature, because the way like most minerals are going to find, they kind of fall out in the same location. So once you get into a location where you have the things and you lay a beacon, whatever, let yourself know it's there, it just makes it so much easier to just farm the area, and you're not just going around kind of blindly hoping to find the rocks or whatever it is you're looking for. So I thought it was a huge, huge feature.
But yeah, so like that's what I mean. Like you like Below Zero, but for me, I much preferred the first Subnautica. The first Subnautica I had a lot more fun with.
I kind of wish I could combine them. Like I wish that the first one was more linear, but I definitely like the atmosphere, and it really felt like you were just stranded in the ocean in the first one.
Yeah, I really like that sense of an alien planet and like feeling kind of hopeless.
Yeah, the isolation,
Yeah.
it was there.
Yeah, this one actually had a lot more interaction. You actually interact with a live human being. And then, of course, you have a talking voice in your head, too. So, yeah, you didn't feel as isolated.
I will say, so that woman that you actually talk to, she has a pet. You can't pet it.
Ooh, that's a good point.
He growls when
Does
you
it have
try
a
to go
butthole?
into her room.
I did not look to see if it had a butthole, Keith. I'm sorry.
Dang it, Andrew.
Keith, you didn't meet it?
I didn't. She came at me the first time, and then I never went and found her little base there. You should know because you looked at my achievements, Liz.
Was it an achievement to...
Find
I
her
think
base, yeah.
I think so. Yeah,
Oh, I didn't know that.
but I'm just joking with you. But yeah, I did meet her, but I didn't meet her again to meet said pet. But I do agree. I think I'm kind of on the same with you guys. Is I almost wanted a combination because I want the playing style of Below Zero, but I want that empty feeling that the original Subnautica had. Because you're right, like, yeah, and I guess I'm kind of jumping back to story, but you're a sister looking for your sister, and that's all fine and well, but it I don't want to say it felt forced, but it's like, it made more sense when you crash landed on this planet, I guess, to have
I
to
think
like...
forced is a good word. Because to me, like, I felt like the first one was more depressing. This one, I felt like it was trying to feel depressing. You're finding these PDAs of people being like, trying to say hi to their kids. I can't wait to see you. But of course, you know, like, you're not meeting any survivors. But like in the first one, you were doing the same thing. But like, it felt, I don't know, I felt like it had more weight in the first one.
Yeah, I
Because
can
you
see that, 'cause,
yourself
like...
are a survivor.
Yeah, there's the one. The weirdest one, and I don't know, I guess maybe this is a thing that people do. But the guy who is like, hey, I love you so much. It's so great being away from you. We should really consider doing this all the time when I come back. I was like, that's a really weird, like, I don't know, maybe that's what people are into, but and absence makes the heart grow fonder and all that, I suppose. But like, it was a very weird assessment that he was making, and it sounded, because it almost made it sound that he was like, yeah, like, we should split up, but he's like, no, we should just spend more time apart, but then come back and like go on vacation together. It's like, okay, weirdo.
That is kind of a weird PDA. So since this one kind of dealt with more land, you of course got a lot more different fauna and land creatures, but what did you guys think of the actual atmosphere of the game?
Again,
I'm getting into graphics, in case you guys didn't know.
Okay. Yeah, I think all in all, I can think of at least, and I'm sure there was more, but I feel like I can think of it like 4 or 5 pretty distinct biomes between land and underwater. And you kind of knew where you were, even if you didn't know where you were on the map. And you always had your markers and everything that could help you figure it out. But I liked that there just felt like very distinct areas, and I think they did a really good job designing all of them. It felt like this weird underwater world. I didn't spend a lot of time on land, but I thought the land felt very samey. It was either you couldn't get to it because it was walled off. And I'm curious, do you think that that's why they made, part of the reason they made the map less wide? Because they were intending to have you spend more time on land, so it was like, you didn't need to go wider, you went up?
I think so, yeah. It meant to be more vertical than it was horizontal.
Yeah, that's my thought on it. But yeah, I think it was good, but I don't know that it built much more on the original, I guess. Maybe the graphics were slightly improved.
I was less impressed with the biomes in this one. You had your thermal areas, you had your snow, which, as Keith said, it's very kind of samey. Going to actually seeing more established bases, though, was kind of interesting, like when you get to a human settlement. But like as far as like the creatures go, there's really only kind of like 3 land creatures. You got the penguins, you got the snow stalker, and then you got the giant worm, and that was kind of about it that you're interacting with on land.
I like the area where they have like the frozen creature, where
the Leviathan.
Yeah, but yeah, I felt like, especially like going into the water with the creep vines and stuff, there weren't enough that you really felt like you were like going through like a creep vine patch kind of thing.
Yeah.
So for me, like there were areas like that where I just felt like it was, I don't want to say lame, but kind of lame. You know,
It was very small that it didn't feel natural.
Yeah, like I felt like it would have been creepy or more exciting to go through an area where anything could pop out at you, but that wasn't the case. It was just like a couple of creep vines here, a couple of creep vines there. So I kind of wish that they, even just making things like that bigger, I think that also made the game feel really small because like, oh, I got to go to the creep vine patch,
Yeah, and like since this was such a smaller map, the creatures were also very much smaller. Like in the first one, you had these giant whales with essentially biomes on their back, just like as a creature. But like you didn't have anything that crazy. Like we said, the biggest creature you find in this one is like would maybe considered a medium-sized creature in the first one. So it's just like it was just so much smaller, and so that's why for me Below Zero was just a little bit more of a disappointment. It says, I don't know, I liked that big, exciting, like I liked feeling small in the first one. This one I didn't. Because also too, like the creature designs are still fantastic, and the biomes that are here are also still very good. They just weren't as big and as interesting. You had purple geysers, purple crystals. You had the vent gardens, which I thought was really cool. It was essentially a giant jellyfish that you could actually go in, and that was kind of a cool idea, but I just didn't think it was as well developed.
Even the lily pad area, which I felt like maybe it was because things were popping in, like there was only like a couple on your screen at a time, or at least for me. That was an area when I went there. I only went there like once or twice where I was having a lot of issues with the frame rate and stuff.
So I just kind of want to like reiterate, because I know I probably sound negative. The graphics still of Subnautica Below Zero are still very good. It just felt small, and like that's just what makes me sad. I miss the big open worldness of the first one, but it's still very good. I don't know about you guys, but I found the human faces, to be a little weird. I don't know.
They were like a little cartoony, like on the little like picture displays or whatever, the sprites or whatever.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about when they had the ice storms and you were in the water?
Oh, that was cool. I like when you actually see like the little pieces of hail breaking the surface of the water. That was actually really cool.
I don't think I actually ever had that happen. That's cool.
One graphic complaint that I have, and it's more me, I had really bad vertigo this week. And the Snow Fox, when you're driving it, and it would go like left, right. And then same with like, whenever I would go down and just hold straight, it would start twirling. And it was making me real dizzy. And I know that I had vertigo this week, but it's still like, I still didn't like it. Did it bother you guys?
No.
No, not really.
Sorry.
Me then. I had a feeling it was just me. Like I wouldn't hold it against the game, but I did not like the spinning.
One thing, honestly, though, I only played, I don't know, a portion of it, but I really stand behind this auto move because I felt like it was so much smoother because I wasn't constantly like, almost like I was staying in a straight line. It was only the camera I was moving. I wasn't like accidentally like letting my finger off the stick on the left side or something. I don't know. I felt like I actually had a smoother movement when I was doing that because it was just forward always.
Going back to the ice storm thing I was talking about, I also loved hearing the windstorms, especially when you're on land. Well, I mean, of course, you're not going to hear underwater. No, but you can be half in water, half out of water. Because whenever the hail would come up, I would always like shoot up to look at it. But especially, I can't talk. Especially on land, I felt like the windstorms and that audio was really good. And then the music, I feel like they still did a good job capturing the mood. But if I remember correctly, I don't think they did it as well as the first one, especially when you're being hunted. I think it was better in the first one.
Yeah. But oh man, speaking of music though, Keith, since you clearly didn't build a bass, you clearly didn't build a jukebox, please tell me you looked up the music on Spotify.
Crap, I forgot to. You told me to and I completely forgot.
Oh man. So I knew you would appreciate it if you actually looked it up on Spotify, which is very unfortunate you did not.
I'm so mad.
But as you do find it, you can build a jukebox. And as you're exploring, they're hard to find, but there are some discs. And there's a total of like 10 songs that are like created by artists that are songs about Subnautica. There's a couple rap songs. There's a couple like acoustic songs. Oh man, they're interesting. I found them kind of
Weird.
yeah, I guess weird. It's not bad. I'm not huge into rap, but hearing a couple rap songs about Subnautica kind of made me chuckle. But they're not bad. They're not for me. But
It was nice to have music on the base.
yeah, well, it was just also kind of odd. Like, why couldn't you build a jukebox in your sea truck?
Oh,
Yeah, it looked like there was plenty of space for it. I tried to build it a bunch of times and it just wouldn't let me.
Yeah, I really struggled with the thing on the back of my sea truck. I got it on the first time, and then it just kept coming off, and I don't know how or why. And I would just stumble across it, and
What? Oh, the modules?
Yeah, I eventually just left it. That big thing that you put on the back.
So you just like be swimming around and all of a sudden like, oh hey, I didn't know I lost you.
That's exactly what happened.
Dude, and you may have. I looked this up, was even how I found it. But did you know you can like pilot those, right?
Yeah, you can like grab
the modules.
Yeah, I told her that.
Okay, yeah, because I didn't at first, and I sat there and I fought and fought. I was like, "What? This is stupid. How do I do this?" And so I Googled it, and I was like, "Oh, that's actually pretty easy."
Wait, I think it's crazy too. Okay, so you didn't even have a moon bay. So did you have to keep replacing the battery of your sea truck?
I never had to replace it once.
Oh, you didn't drive it that
also-
much?
I mean, I felt like I did, but I don't know. I never used up the battery.
Because every time you park in the moon bay, it charges it for
I
you.
felt like I ran out of battery really fast.
I don't know.
I also want to.
When you park in the what do you say when you park in the moon bay?
When you build a base,
Like
you build it was well. I guess you didn't build a base in the first one either, didn't you? But you
No.
built a moon bay, so it was like a place where you could park your vehicle into your base and it would charge it up while it was parked.
It was like solar
Yeah.
energy of some sort. Huh. No, I didn't have that. I don't know. My batteries never died, and I had extra power cells anyways, so I just could have changed batteries.
Man, your adventure is so weird in this game.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's why even if I didn't hate this one, I oddly still did the same thing of just squabbled around, and I don't know what I did, but I had more fun doing it at least.
I wanted to just point out real quick that I made that stupid thing to put on the back of my truck because Andrew told me that I could make the body parts for the alien with the fabricator, and I could do it when I was out there. You can't. You do it at the station. You don't use a fabricator. You do it like in the...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I built it for nothing and carried around with me for nothing.
No, because you needed to make synthetic fiber. You could have made synthetic fiber on the go.
Yeah,
so, trying to.
Well,
throw
no,
me
I
under the
ended up
bus.
forgetting the ion cube back at my base. And having to go all
So
the way
this is
back
on you, not me.
anyways.
You're trying to run me over with your sea truck. You're trying to make me go the way of the sea monkeys. Let's see what you're trying to do.
I wonder if, like, one of the times my thing was attacked, maybe they knocked it off.
No.
And then I don't know how I did it because I never took it off.
Every time you go to the moon bay, it detaches all your modules.
Maybe that's it.
Yeah, that is
Okay.
it.
Okay.
That's. I didn't even have a moon bay, and I sounds like yeah, that's the answer.
I feel like your experience just sounds so sad, Keith. You didn't build a base. You didn't get to put posters up. You didn't get to listen to music.
You should see the posters of Liz's base. She has so many.
I did pull down all the posters when I was at Delta Station, not Delta Station
How did you
Dock.
carry it when you don't have any walkers? Did you throw them into the ocean?
No, I went and at that point I had my moon truck or my sea truck module, and so I just put it in that storage. I was fine.
I don't know how you get by without like 5 huge lockers.
Keith explaining his adventures is just blowing my mind.
I just run lean. I don't see what's wrong with that.
Lean and clean.
I would pin the recipes I was building, and I would just go pick up the things I needed for it, and then I'd fabricate them, and I didn't need to have anything else. And if I didn't need the thing that I found, I just didn't pick it up.
But it takes...
I was like, oh, more titanium. I don't need more titanium. I'm just going to leave that. I'm looking for gold.
That makes the game so much longer. I felt for myself because for me, like, I knew that I would eventually need a ton of titanium. Do a titanium trip. Do a copper trip. Do trips, like, just collect all the different stuff that you think you're going to need because for me, it saved so much time. Because I would.
No, I can absolutely see that, especially once I was starting to get to the point where I had the ability to build the bases and I was starting to try and do that. Then I was like, okay, I can see where I need a ton of titanium. And I did carry some extra. I wasn't like only carrying 3 pieces of titanium at a time because that's all I needed for the thing. I would have extra, but obviously not nearly as much extra as I probably should have had and that you guys had. So I largely just carried what I needed.
Yeah, that really must have taken you so much longer. Because, I mean, so even though we're complaining, or not really, we're saying that this game's smaller.
Yes and no, because I still say I honestly don't think it did.
Right.
Because the biggest reason I say this, really what took me so long to progress was the fact that I just didn't explore Delta Station. Like I said, I had already found a couple of the alien body parts, artifacts. Like I actually somehow progressed a lot around, I think, the main storyline or parts of I don't know what I did. I don't know what.
How much time do you think you put in the game? Do you know?
I would have to say I'm somewhere between 7 to 9 hours. If I were gonna put money on it.
Well, so far the average time to beat, you're looking at between 20 hours to 26 hours.
Okay. I think I would probably clock in at the 26 if I were to bet. Maybe even honestly over that. Like I'm sure it does take me longer, but I don't think it's like, oh, I'm doubling my time. I think at most maybe I'm adding an extra 10% to it. That's all I'm saying.
Which I wanted to get into achievements because we already touched on Keith's achievements. You have a total
Which is very minimal.
175 with 3 achievements. And Keith, not Keith.
Wow.
Andrew and I, we both got 1,000 gamer score.
Yeah,
We
high
got all
five.
13. Yeah.
I will accept noob achievement status this week. It is well earned because I am not even close.
I found time for this game. I really want to know what happened in the end, and I feel like the achievements they're only 13, and I
think there's only 10.
No, there's 13.
Oh.
No, it is 13.
You're a great
And
listener, Andrew.
What? Yeah, so overall though, I think I would recommend this game for achievement hunters. If you are someone who just wants to get a quick 1,000, I think you could follow a walkthrough in this game and honestly beat it pretty quick.
I think so, because do you need to beat the entire game to do it? It didn't look like you needed to.
You just need to, like, a lot of the achievements are just building kind of certain things, and it doesn't take long.
Yeah,
if you
exactly.
were following a walkthrough, you can knock out, like, if it, like, giving you directions as where to go, yeah, you can knock this game out pretty quick.
And I bet you someone's even built like an actual achievement walkthrough where you can not skip the storyline, but like touch what you need to of it, and then largely just do what you need to do to get to the achievements. Because I didn't see any of them that, at least from their explanation, seemed to be story driven so much as you said. It was like build this item, do this thing.
Like half of them are story driven, half of them are kind of building things. But once again, too, all the achievements are secret, which is very unfortunate.
I didn't like that. But if you're gonna do 13 achievements, it's almost like that's why. But it's still annoying.
Yeah, like this is my complaint. I remember complaining about in the first Subnautica too. It's like the fact that they're not giving you a map, they're not telling you what the achievements are. Like this game is really encouraging you to look stuff up online, which is frustrating. Because if you're someone who really wants to know about the story, there's a good chance you're going to come across spoilers. And I don't like that. I don't like when a game is really encouraging you to go online and look things up. It's like, just, you should give me the tools with the game.
Yeah, like I found out that Marguerite existed before I even found her because
Wait,
I was
what did you call her?
Trying to find Marguerite.
I think I called her Margarita.
Is that her name's Margarita?
No, her name's Marguerite, but I thought you called her Margarita.
Oh, no, Marguerite. The first time I met her was after I realized she even existed because I looked it up. And I was like, oh, there's another person here. Neat. And then I found her. Well, she found me. Something.
And it was love at first sight. But getting into our final thoughts here. Keith, why don't you go first?
Alrighty. I'll do this. So, when it came to Subnautica Below Zero, I wasn't thrilled. So thanks everybody who voted for it. You did me a solid. but it surprised me. I actually enjoyed my time really more than I expected to, given I struggled so much with the original Subnautica, and clearly I still struggled with Below Zero, but I don't feel like I struggled to the extent where I couldn't get anything done. I personally feel like I did a lot while not doing anything at all in this game, and I don't know how that makes sense, but it does in my head, so I'm gonna go with it. Liz, can I get a score on my original, because I do want to make sure I don't accidentally score this one lower.
Oh no, I want to hear your score first.
I kind of do too. Yeah. Come on, Keith.
I was gonna go with 80. I don't know. I think I like to think I try to stick pretty consistent, where the 80 is a score where I didn't love it. I'm not gonna really recommend it to anyone unless they kind of describe they're looking for a game that seems to fit Subnautica. But I enjoyed my time, so I can't really dog on it. So I think 80 is a good score for it.
So with the original Subnautica, you said that personally, with enjoyability, you found it to be a 70, but you thought that the game deserved an 80. So this time you're saying...
So it came up to the 80 that I felt like it deserved.
Yeah.
It's perfect. Okay.
All right, that works.
I nailed it, and I didn't even know it. Thanks, Liz.
No problem.
I like that you actually got the full detail of my score.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm very much with you, Keith. I absolutely loved the first Subnautica. This one I thought was still good. It was still Subnautica. I still had a lot of fun with it. I didn't like how small it was, and I was very upset my Cyclops was gone. I thought that thing was so fun to drive, and just the environments that were kind of built for it. It was a lot of fun. I like the Cyclops. I miss it. But this game felt like it had more direction. You know, it actually had more dialogue. It actually explained more of the story for you, which I didn't care for as much because I thought the story was just okay. But the environments are still really good. The creatures are still really cool to look at. The sound effects are still really good. It's still very much Subnautica. I was expecting bigger and better with I usually do in a sequel, but this is very much its own game, and it makes sense. I can totally see, like I said, I can see people who would love Below Zero, but wouldn't like first Subnautica. But you could also be like me, where you love the first Subnautica, and this one it was okay. It was good. But I think I'm gonna give it the same score as you, Keith. I think I'm gonna give it an 80.
So yours went down.
I figured it would. I think I gave the first one a 90, right?
No, you gave an 85. I think that I am going to... I keep going back and forth between 88 and 89.
You did this with Titanfall, too. You also couldn't figure out what you wanted to give it.
I'm going to give it an 89. I enjoyed it and found it way more accessible. And I like that it was a bit simpler. I agree. I'm giving it a higher score than the original because I kind of felt lost with the original, with what to do next with the story, things like that. So for me, I felt like I didn't have to look things up as much, and I just really liked it. So looking at Metacritic, Series X is 83 and 7.7, and Xbox One, TBD, and 5.1. So someone who gave it a 0, the main complaint was that it was crashing and that there was a lot of frame dips. But they did say, this bullcrap should be illegal. Game developers are worse than car salesmen these days. I thought that was funny.
So we actually had a listener also give us a review of the game as well.
We did last time with the original Subnautica.
I think you're right. Oh, yeah, we did.
I am right.
But a Twitter follower, Brian, who is also the co-host of the List Off podcast, he said Subnautica Below Zero is a great game. I love that there are more varied environments and a voice-acted story. It gives a different vibe than the original. He said the Sea Truck Forever. I disagree with the Sea Truck Forever. I want my Cyclops.
I do.
It sounds like you just predicted my gameplay.
I agree. I actually really did like the Sea Truck. I just thought it was simple, easy, small.
See, I like the more complicated Cyclops. I like that it was more complicated. But, yeah. So I think that's going to do it for us this week. Liz, do you have any other great snacks you want to suggest for this game this time around?
No, but while we were having technical issues doing the podcast, Andrew and I took out some candy, and we ate some mini peanut butter cups, mini Kit Kats, and Sour Patch Kids. And you had Reese's Pieces.
Living our best fat life right now.
You had a cold snap. I'm trying to stay hydrated, drinking some water over here.
I'm drinking beer. But thank you all so much for joining us. If you have a game suggestion, please email us at gamepassgrabbag@gmail.com or at Facebook at GBGBpod or at Twitter at GBGBpod. I've been your hardcore gamer host, Andrew. You can find me on Xbox Live at Firebird01952.
I've been Keith, and I am swimming on out of here.
I think you used that exact same one last time.
Crap.
You have a good memory.
Don't you have like another a segment you're doing? Or a new phrase you're going to teach people?
I already told you I was quitting this segment because I overshot myself there.
All right.
And I'm Liz the Noob, gamer tag comment I'm Dean, and I'm on Twitter at Liz the Noob. Noob is EW.
Thank you all so much for joining us. We love you all. We'll see you again next week.
Bye, guys.